HBCU Gameday, the leader in HBCU sports and culture. And what is more culture than our HBCUs themselves? Today we're joined by FAMU President Dr. Larry Robinson, the 12th President of Florida A&M University. What better way to start off our Swing of Florida to speak with each of the 4 presidents of the HBCUs than right here on the highest of 7 hills. Dr. Robinson, how are you today?
I'm wonderful, Bob. Thank you for coming up with this idea, and I'm really, really fortunate to first serve as president and then have somebody like you as an alum of this great institution.
Absolutely. So don't threaten my National Alumni Association card. If you see me wearing the colors of the schools, I'm doing that out of respect for my job. But you know I got to have on orange and green undergarments under there. So
I'm sorry, I can't excuse that.
Well, anyway, Dr. Robinson, when you came to Florida A&M to take the permanent position, you had just, as we say, rescued the university again. As a scientist, you've come in and forensically corrected things and helped the university along its way. Just talk about your journey to the permanent presidency after a few interim stints.
Right. Well, first of all, Bud, I have to tell everyone, every time I hear the word permanent presidents, the words, I cringe because there's really nothing permanent about this position. We just all do the best that we can while we're sitting in the seat, all knowing that one day, voluntarily or involuntarily, we won't be here. So the important thing is to do what you can while you're at the helm. And about my journey here at Florida A&M University, it really started with a former president who, sort of opened the door for me to be here, and Dr. Frederick S. Humphreys. And, FAMU's history was established long before I arrived here 27 years ago, and in terms of a paid employee for FAMU, right? And so first you have to begin with respecting that part. If you ever come to a place, as outstanding as FAMU and assume that everybody who came before you contributed nothing and it's all now on your shoulders, that's really, really dangerous and counterproductive. And so I've been able to see the good works of several presidents during my 27-year journey, but also understanding what those who were here in this seat, long before, I was even born. And so I appreciate all of that. And I try to integrate all of that history into what I do, knowing that my job is not only to preserve that, but also make it such that we can continue with that great legacy of Florida A&M University. And so I respect all of that. And I understand the true significance of this job. So many people count on this institution each and every day, right, for their livelihood, but also for the students who are here, for their future, right, for the communities that we serve, for their livelihood. And it really would be a big mistake for me to assume that all of this great thing we call Florida A&M University has anything to do with me.
Well, Dr. Robinson, you said something very important, and a lot of people do depend on our HBCUs, particularly Florida A&M University. But you have managed, even in today's culture, where a lot of colleges are seeing decreases in enrollment, or decreases in application. Florida A&M has remained attractive and continues to set records with applications and interest and rankings.
Yes.
How does that happen?
Because we have some hardworking, dedicated people at Florida A&M University. Our faculty, our staff, our alumni, and others who contribute to the well-being of this institution. We have a very wise, and very observant board of trustees who want to make sure that we get this right. And so we don't take anything for granted, right? We get out and do the work of recruiting, right? When they come, we do the work of providing those world-class academic programs that they need to succeed. Then they go out into the world and are successful, and then that story sort of perpetuates itself, right? They tell others and others come. We have alums out there doing just some incredible things for FAMU, right? And somehow we just have to keep connecting those dots so that people know, as we say all of the time, that you can get anywhere from Florida A&M University, and it's not just a statement, it is a reality, it's happening. What we have to do more of is everybody communicating those very, very positive things and impacts that we have on the lives of our students. And so they're still coming This year we'll have another record year in terms of applications, right? Well over 20,000, who are trying to get here. And the only thing I regret is that we can't accommodate more, right? But we're going to do our best to make sure the ones who do come get the best educational experience in America.
Dr. Robinson, often when you think of a university president, in most campuses, whether it's a PWI or HBCU, a lot of times the university president is that gentleman that sits up at the top of the administration building. You see him at games sometime, you see him at the commencements. But you've managed to become more engaged with the students. I've seen you on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I've seen you all over social media integrating with the students. And speaking for my daughter, she absolutely loves it every time she sees you there. Is that strategic, or is that just Dr. Larry Robinson having fun?
It's just me, right? Because I think we owe it to our students to be with them and show them, because a lot of them think that, people like me who have PhDs in the sciences or whatever, that somehow we were born with, a silver spoon in our mouths, well, orange and green spoon in our case of fame. But that's not the case. I just want to know them to know that I'm just one of them, right? And I want to be with them, because what warms my heart more than anything is the times of the year when they're coming as freshmen and, coming to move into the dormitories. I see that enthusiasm in them, a little bit of fear in some cases, but I see the rewards of that, 4 years or so later when they're marching across that stage. Those are some really wonderful points for me. And so I want to make sure I touch these students and let them know that we really do care about them. The only thing that you left out is that I rarely miss a fried chicken Wednesday.
Well, you are legendary. They know when they bring recruits, so anybody else on a Wednesday, they know to catch Dr. Robinson and fried chicken Wednesday at the cafeteria in with the students. Florida A&M has managed to maintain relevance. A lot of universities are, like I say, their relevance has been depleted. What is the secret sauce to FAMU remaining so high?
So it's because of our connection with the real world. So many of us, like myself, came from that place and brought with us those connections, right? I was just telling the Board of Trustees at a meeting this week that, I have, aside from them, I have one major advisory board, and that's our industry cluster, a collection of 60 plus industry, private industries, and small and large, who advise me on how to get our students ready for the world of work, right? We keep our finger on the pulse of what's happening out in the world, not just teaching what we want our students to know, because that's what they taught us back in the day, but getting students prepared for the world of tomorrow, right? Teaching them how to think, how to handle data, how to synthesize knowledge, and how to be good stewards, right? That's the important part of the formula. We get our students ready for the world, and that makes a huge difference, right? We revitalized the industry cluster. It was one of the most, I think, grandest ideas that Dr. Humphreys ever had. I remember my first years coming to those industry cluster events, and dozens of companies, here to recruit the best and the brightest students, make substantial donations to the institution, provide internships for students, but even beyond that, providing advice, serving on advisory boards at the various colleges and schools to make sure that our Raptors are connected to the real world.
Well, and you mentioned the Board of Trustees, and how amazing is it to have Kristen Harper to lead the Board of Trustees, who was once a student here, once SGA president. She was dynamic in the business world, and now she brings all of that knowledge to lead the FAMU Board of Trustees.
I think it's really amazing, because her story, I think, connects with so many FAMU students who can see her as a role model, right? As she has moved through the corporate world, now she's in entrepreneurship, she has her own consulting firm, and now she's gone to, the biggest job, on campus, right, in my opinion, and serving as the chair of the Board of Trustees. So I think, and she's very insightful. She led she was the board liaison for the current, strategic plan, boldly striking, as we called it. And so she's all integrated into the nuances of what we're doing and where we need to go. She's been there herself as a student. She understands the challenges that they have. And she has a daughter here on top of all of that. And so she's really invested in FAMU, and having that as a person like that as a chair is really, really an asset for me, because I don't have to tell about FAMU. I have to tell her why FAMU is important. She already knows.
Dr. Robinson, we are HBCU Gameday.
Mm-hmm.
How have you, what's your evaluation of making the move from the MEAC to the SWAC?
I think it has been to our advantage, distinct advantage. Although I will say, I've often said, don't show this on TV, that, had we stayed a couple of years at the MEAC, we would have been in the Celebration Bowls a couple of years earlier. But anyway, we made it in the SWAC. Both of these conferences are amazing, a set of academic institutions, athletic programs, and I think our connections, in terms of our fans is much, greater here, in the SWAC. The cost of getting to places is lower here. There are a few places, that are a little bit out of the way, but still, those connections are strong. My first season in the SWAC, I went to every game, home and away. And by the way, I've only missed 2 games in the last 6 years.
Yeah, you're always at games, always.
And so I've seen all of these special places and the excitement of our fans wherever we go. And so I think it's been a big win for Florida A&M University. The only thing that I think surprised me, I'm pretty sure you knew it, because the word on the street was that the SWAC was just a football conference. What do the kids say? H to the no. I mean, they compete in every single sport.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
Football. It's the big revenue generator. But from women's tennis to women's volleyball, men's golf, track and field, basketball, all of these sports across the spectrum in the SWAC are highly competitive, right? And so, I think we made the right choice. Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's any institution that's playing football. Mm-hmm. It's your goal to win the conference and get to that Celebration Bowl. December 16th, 2023, it all came together. After the game was over and you left the podium, what were your thoughts as you were getting ready to speak to the team?
So Vaughn, I've gone through the days, right? I remember those years when we were barely 500, or we were below 500.
We were 1-10 one year. Let's not forget that. I always bring that back up, and that was not too long ago.
That wasn't too long ago, and I can't forget that, right? And so to go from that, and under Coach Simmons to turn the program around, in this relatively short period of time, winning this game that we had to go and watch other people play in, and here we are, right? At the pinnacle of HBCU football sports, winning that game and doing it in fine fashion. On top of that, I kept pitching myself all the way home, right? It's pretty amazing, though, because commencement was the Friday before.
Right.
And we had to get to Atlanta because I refused to take a chance on flying to Atlanta, on the day of the game, because there was no way after all of this struggle we were going to miss that game. And so we drove up, the night of the game, left here after 8 o'clock because, commencement was long. But I'm telling you, Vaughn, it was, it was really, just to think about it in this perspective, right? You had 2 of the finest HBCUs playing. There are only 2 HBCUs that are ranked higher than FAMU in terms of overall academic profile, and that's, Howard is one of those, right? And then here we are, combatants on the field of football. Oh man, that was really, really special to have the Vice President of the United States of America in attendance, at that game, and all these other celebrities and rattlers who came from everywhere there. It was a special day for the team, for Coach Simmons and his team of coaches, alumni, and everybody. It was really, really a special day. Everybody was happy about it except for a certain person here called Commissioner Bill.
Yeah, the famous bison.
The famous bison, yeah.
Dr. Robinson, as you look at sports, and everything has a journey, the beginning of 2022 was not the best for FAMU athletics. But I saw the scientists in you come out. I saw you evaluate the problem, get together a committee, a solution, and make the commitment to get things right. And that was solving the academics and compliance issues that have been plaguing the university for years. You did it, and the result is incredible improvement in the football APR, as well as the other sports were actually doing really well. But being able to concentrate, because there are so many more players, it's always more difficult to handle things with football. How is that program working right now?
So, you know, and by the way, it's not just me. We have a great team of folks who work to put together a comprehensive athletics action plan to look at all of those things, compliance and so on and so forth. We added additional staff. You know, I think we probably have more compliance officers than anybody except maybe, you know, the University of Alabama. I don't know. You know, we have 6 or 7 compliance officers, 4 or 5, you know, academic advisors, you know, spread across, you know, these sports. We had that plan ground truth, so to speak, by an external consulting firm. They thought it was great, but had a few suggestions that we have now incorporated into that. And so now we have a roadmap, right? We admitted that there were some things that needed to be improved. That's the first thing, right? The minute you wake up and say to yourself, I'm perfect, nothing can be improved upon, is the day that you have failed. And so we saw where there were opportunities, and I still appreciate the young men who helped bring that to our attention, right? And so we got behind that plan, you know, full force, and did the things that we needed to do. It has made a huge difference for not just football, but for several other sports as well. And I think it bodes well for the future, because we got to get out of this, you know, constant struggle with APR, right, for football and 1 or 2 other sports. And I think this plan will allow us to do that. We have to stay true to it, though, right, because it just has some really strong elements in it. And so we got off to a good start, right? I think it was one of the first time we didn't have, you remember the year before when we were going through all this back and forth, trying to get exceptions and all these other things that I don't really understand, you know, in terms of the NCAA eligibility issues. We started this year out, well, the 2023 season, you know, with little or no controversies, right? Young men could focus on class and football. In that order. Right. Coach Simmons could focus on football, you know, and it paid off, right? It paid off. At a hiccup in terms of, you know, bringing in a new coach, but we're there now, right? And so what I would say to everyone is, let's get behind, you know, James Hosey the third, I call him the third, right? Let's get behind this team, man, and just move forward. Right?
I was at practice today, their first day in pads, and let me tell you, I thought a game was going on.
Is that
the
right?
guys were so excited, they were so loud, you know, so excited. I think it's taking pressure off of them, because sitting on the championship, you have a target on your back now, unlike last year. So I think they were just ready to get out and get back in the process. But as we're speaking of athletics, before we let you go, Dr. Robinson, thank you for sitting down with us. The first of 4 HBCUs in the state of Florida. Next, we will be traveling over to Jacksonville, get some Jenkins barbecue, and sit down with.
Lord. Can I go with you?
Sit down with Edward Waters University President Dr. Faison. He's always great to us when we go over there. We'll go down to the school in Daytona Beach, and then we'll end up at Florida Memorial University. But the first of its kind for HBCU Gameday to actually interview the presidents. But before we go,
no, go ahead. No, I'm just saying we brought together, and I couldn't believe it was for the first time. We had an HBCU Florida HBCU Summit a few years back. We brought them together. So we hosted it the first year, brought everybody here. Florida Memorial hosted it a couple of years ago, and I think it's going to be either that school in
Daytona.
or Edward Waters that will host it the next time out. But we've been working together, pretty closely. Just when it comes to sports, things get a little tense. Right?
I said I had one more question, but I cannot let this go by without asking. Florida Classic lunches. I've got to bring this up. For the people who didn't work there, just look on your screen. We've got the video running. There's always banter at but this was different level this year.
Yeah, we took it to another level. We had to bring in the Memphis Mauler to straighten some of this stuff out, all this back and forth, right? But we have a very creative team of folks, communication team, under Keith Miles, and we kind of came up with this idea a long time ago. Well, earlier in the semester, fall semester. And there were times when I said, I don't know, right? I don't know, right? But anyway, we had a lot of fun with that. And obviously the people who were there in attendance did as well.
And the internet loved it as well. It was a great way to accent, one of the greatest weekends in HBCUs, period. People don't realize. The Florida Classic, FAMU has humongous recruiting fairs.
Oh, yeah.
There are career fairs.
Yeah.
You got the Battle of the Bands and all the ancillary activities. So it's not just a Florida Classic. That is a homage to the motherland, if you ask me.
Yeah. So it used to be the Florida Classic weekend. It's the Florida Classic weekend, right? Because the stuff starts.
It starts earlier and earlier.
And the impacts are long-lasting, right? The financial impacts on the city of Orlando and Orange County are huge, right? So we're really proud that we've been able to participate in this game. And we're more proud that the last 3 years we gave that team from Daytona Beach, the whooping that they so rightfully deserve, right?
Okay, and as we leave, we are HBCU Gameday, and I want to end on a sports thought. Last week, the softball field was named after Veronica Wiggins, and
oh my God!
And how special is that? I mean, this is one of the most unique people you'll ever meet in your life.
That you will ever meet, and her record is something that you will rarely ever see, right, in HBCU ranks or anywhere else. And so I was so proud that we were able to do that, and that she was alive to see it happen, right? And she more than deserved it. And I thought, when I first got there, is this homecoming? Because there's so many people who were there. It's just incredible, brought out all those former players, community members, and so forth who really knew her story. And it was just impressive, to see that. And how well it's done on the field, too.
That's beautiful.
That is beautiful.
That is very beautiful.
So she more than deserves that. So.
Well, all right, HBCU Game Day, and the first of the Florida Swing as we speak with the presidents, and we started right here on the highest of 7 hills with the 12th president of Florida A&M University, Dr. Larry Robinson. Thank you very much. Continued success with the Rattlers, and I'm not going to make you do the Rattler charge. I feel for Dr. Robinson sometimes. Everywhere he goes, people want to make
even at funerals.
But Dr. Larry Robinson, president of Florida A&M University, the first of 4, HBCU Game Day, the leader in HBCU sports and culture.
Keep striking from the top. All right.